The ABC of Drag Hunting by Grace Clark Newton. Read for LibriVox.org by stepheather. March 3rd, 2023, Bangalore, India. A is ambition, which leads you to buy a qualified hunter, the picture of pride, of whom it is said he takes off in his stride. This means he jumps you off with hounds in full cry. B is the beauty who's learning to go, who comes to the club on the morn of the meet, and says to the master, "Now if you'll be sweet, and let me ride near you, I'll finish, I know." C is the casualty frequently met, when a ditch next a creeper-clad fence lies concealed, also the comments of most of the field, for the man who lays drags with a butterfly net. D is the overworked letter so dear to the heart of the sportsman who's riding a skate, who thinks there is no one to open the gate, and fails to observe that the vicar stands near. E is your epitaph writ by a wag, which reached you by post on your first hunting morn. Hic jacet, he hoped to be pride of the corn, but died of sheer fright ere he rode in one drag. F is the fence, made of stout posts and rails. 5 feet, you sailed over it riding the gray, but do not dine out on it often, I pray, for at each repetition the interest pales. G is the gathering gloom of her grace, the great one invited to open our ball, when she heard that the master had had a bad fall, and the honorable whip is to fill in his place. H is the horn of the huntsman that sounds, rather wheezy and thin to irreverent ears, but 'tis a music melodic which cheers the hearts of the nailers who follow hounds. I is the impulse by which you are cursed, to prove you have courage when foxhounds are cast. I'll jam in my spurs and be after them fast. It seems that the master prefers to go first. J is the jackrabbit running so free, and the jar to the master who sees that his pack have tacitly told him they cannot come back till the last of their fat furry friend they can see. K is the kennels where foxhounds are kept. A visit to these is a part of the game. 'Tis a wise MFH knows each couple by name, but when they know him, they say strong men have wept. L is for larking to try out a colt. How lightly he leaps from the paddock or pen. But once on his back, it's a question of when he will lie down or roll on you, buck, jump, or bolt. M is the merriment seen on each face at the rumor some hunting man offers to sell the pick of the stable because he can't tell if he's going abroad for a season to race. N is the nag, nervy gnat who is lent for your use by a friend when your own horse broke down, and the news that was sent to your dear ones in town, some bones have been broken and some are just bent. O is the opportune offer you made to carry a flask in case of a spill. Then you learn that it's equally good for a chill, and most of the field of a chill are afraid. P is for pink, to its pomp we aspire when riding in mufti, but how do we feel when bound for the meet, quite the modern John Peel, if village boys shout, "Oh, I say, where's the fire?" Q is the quagmire where you get stuck, and the quizzical questions of those on the bank, who, as they help you to rescue your horse on a plank, were you hunting a fox or just chasing a duck? R is the road that the faint-hearted choose when the line crosses country where going is risky, and the rot that they talk as they sip their Scotch whiskey, to prove it's not they, but their mounts that refuse. S is the scent, none too pleasant to those who ride not to hounds, but at swift hunting pace. When the right sort detect it, how madly they race. They find it more sweet than the breath of a rose. T is for thousands, the cost of our fun, also for the thrusters, and they are not few, who send in a 10 when the season is through. It pays for the timber they broke in one run. U is for us, when united we fight, that the skirt called divided be worn by the fair. If you've seen a dear girl with her boots in the air as she lands in a furrow, you'll say I am right. V is the viewpoint of those who are vexed by the master's great promptness when they ride up late. Confounded old martinet, couldn't he wait? Cast hounds by alarm clock, that's what he'll do next. W stands for the weekend so wet we spent with our friend of a neighboring hunt. You could keep up with hounds if you went in a punt, but I need not tell you how far we did get. X's for crossroads and signposts galore. You shout the bumpkin who's raking his hay. Which way went the pack? And his, well, I can't say. Ain't seen any peddlers, is rather a bore. Y stands for you, who have stood for these rhymes, who discern amid chaff shining kernels of truth. So the spirit of chivalry, valor, and youth are found in the pleasures and sports of our times. Z is for zero, our surplus, my dear, when after good sport, with all damages paid, we sit by the fire and say, I'm afraid there'll be no more runs till the spring of the year. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Amateur Photographer by Norman Rowland Gale. Read for LibriVox.org by Ananda, Samudhram. Beware of those who slyly pitch in many cunning ways. Beware of little liars that filch from undisputed base. Beware the tumbler's bearded brim, the ass in fiercer fur. But most of all, beware of him who makes my pen to stir, the insecure and amateur, implacable photographer. Beware lest, thieving for your thirst, and earwigs in the plum. Beware of folly, gay at first, that later makes you glum. Beware of pits when stars are dim, the tooth of vagrant cur. But most of all, beware of him that makes my pen to stir, the masterful, disasterful, implacable photographer. Beware of angling in a stream whose trout are not for you. Beware of trusting in a dream that's gone before the dew. Beware of truckling to a whim of folks that always purr. But most of all, beware of him that makes my pen to stir, the premature and amateur, implacable photographer. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
April by Geoffrey Stoddart Kennedy. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Breath of spring not come, but coming in the air. Life of earth not lived, but living everywhere. Promises not made nor broken, but the token of promises that will be made. Sunshine seeking shade, red earth that smiles and asks for seed, and mossy woodland paths that lead to where the yellow primrose grows. And so for many-coloured miles of open smiling France, while noisy little streamlets dance in diamond-mirrored suns, to meet the stately mother stream that flows with shining dignity to greet her lord the sea. And far away, beyond the hills, one hears, poor village mother, hence thy tears, the muffled thunder of the guns. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Bees by Norman Rowland Gale. Read for LibriVox.org by Ananda, Samudhram. You, voluble, velvety, vehement fellows, that play on your flying and musical cellos, all goldenly girdled, you serenade clover, each artist in bass but a bibulous rover. You passionate, powdery, pastoral bandits, who gave you your roaming and rollicking mandates. Come out of my foxglove, come out of my roses, you bees with the plushy and plausible noses. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Bubble by Richard Crashaw. Read for LibriVox.org by Public Domain Scholar. What art thou? What new device? globe chance fashioned in a trice, into brief existence bounding, perfectly thy circle rounding, as when Cypress her breast smiting, virgin still, all love inviting, Cypress in her young loveliness, couched rosy where the wide waves press, her to bear and her to bless, so forth from thy native shell, gleamest thou ineffable, springing up with graceful bound, and describing dainty round, thousand colours come and go, as thou dost thy fair curves show, swelling out a whirling ball, meet for fairy festival, through whose sides, of shifting hue, through whose smooth turned globe we view, iris gliding rainbows sitting, in 100 forms soft flitting, and semblance of a troop displaying, all around dominion swaying, and the goddess volatile, with witching step and luring smile, follows still with twinkling foot, in linked mazes involute, with many a sight deceiving turn, in flight which makes pursuers burn, and a graceful hesitation, only a treacherous simulation, just so and no less deceiving, our bubble, all its colours weaving, follow ever varying courses, or in an air itself disperses, here now, there now, coming, going, wandering as if ebbing, flowing, sporting passion's colours all, in ways that are bacchanal, and the globes undisciplined, as though driven by the wind, borne along the fleeting plains, light as air, nor order reigns, but the heaven-possessed array, moving each in its own way, hither now and thither flying, glancing, wavering, and dying, losing still their path and finding, in a random interwinding, rising, falling, and careering, visible now, now disappearing, living, wandering streams outgoing, even confusion beauty is showing, flowing not each in its course, but each to the other joining force, moving in pleasant pastime still, in a mutual goodwill, and the nearness that's so near, you the contact almost fear, yet so finely drawn to the eye, in its delicate subtlety, that the procession blossom fair, nowhere has direction clear, nor with their own aspect glance, but in sweet luxuriance, which skyey influences lend, as in new windings on they trend, throwing off the stolen sunlight, in a flood of blossoms bright, scattered on the fields of light, such a brilliancy of bloom, as all may share, if all will come, now golden springs advancing lightly, spreading itself on all sides brightly, out of its rich and full supply, open-handed lavishly, since all colours you discern, no one colour may you learn, all tints melted into one, in a sweet confusion, you cannot tell 'tis that or this, so shifting is the loveliness, gleams as of the peacock's crest, or such as on a dove's neck rest, opal edged with amethyst, or the sunset's purple mist, or the splendour that there lies in a maiden's azure eyes, kindling in a sweet surprise, flower tints, shell tints, tender dyed, save to the curious unespied. Lo, one bubble follows t'other, differing still from its frail brother, striking still from change to change, with a quick and vivid range, there in the contagious wave, torches palely glistening lave, here what delicate love lights shine, through them mere flames bickering shine, matching flushing of the rose, as the ruddy channel flows, milky rivers in white tide, lucent hush still onwards glide, purple rivers in high flood, red as in man's awful blood, cornfields smiling goldenly, meet the blue laugh of the sea, mist clouds sailing on their way, darken the changeful cheeks of day, and beneath vine clusters red, lilies are transfigured. Here you mark as 'twere the snows, folding over the neighbouring rows, snow into blown roses flushing, roses wearied of their blushing, as the shifting tints embrace, and their course you scarce can trace, now retiring, now advancing, now in wanton mazes dancing, now a flowery red appears, now a purpled green careers, all the signs in heaven that burn, where the gliding wheel doth turn, here in radiant courses go, as though 'twere a heaven below, the sky's mazes involute, circling onward with deft foot, sphere on heavenly sphere attending, coming, going, interblending, and the golden fleeced flocks of air, wandering in violet and fair, flocks that drink in chaste delight, dewy pastures of the night, leaving no trace of foot or bite. What air of change above you note, as these clouds o'er heaven float, lo repeated here we see, in a sportive mimicry, here the tiny tender world, within its own brightness furled, wavers as in fairy robe, t'were a belted lined globe. Lights as of the breaking day tremble with iridescent play, but now swiftly upward going, evanescent colours showing, in some nook their beams concealing, nor their wantonness revealing. Oh, what store of wonders here, in this short-lived, slender sphere! For all wonders I have told are within its globe enrolled. Not such globe as skillet he, fashioned of old in Sicily, brighter even than crystals are, and than crystal fairer far. I am the spirit of the wind, for a flitting breath designed. I am blossom born of air, I'm of ocean, guiding star. I'm a golden sport of nature, frolic stamped on every feature. I'm a myth, an idle theme, the brief substance of a dream. Grace and grief of trifles I, charm a well-skilled vanity, begotten of the treacherous breeze, parent of absurdities. Yet a drop or mote at best, favoured more than are the rest. I'm price of hope that no more is, one of the Hesperides, beauty's casket doting eye, of lovers blinded wilfully, the light spirit of vanity. I am fortune's looking glass, the countersign which she doth pass to her troops of warriors. I'm the oath by which she wears, and wherewith she doth induce men to trust a fragile truce. Charming, provoking, still astray, fair and elegant and gay, trim and fresh and blossom-hued, interchangeably imbued, with rosy red and the snow's whiteness, air and water and fire's brightness, painted gemmed of the golden dye, nothing after all am I. If now, O gentle reader, it appear irksome my bubbles' chatterings to hear, if on it frowning, words, words, words thou say, no more I'll chatter, but at once obey. So turn thine eye, my friend, no more give heed, my bubble lives, but if thou choose to read, cease thou to read, and I resign my breath. Cease thou to read, and that will be my death. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Captives by Ernest Hemingway. Read for LibriVox.org by Rob E. Brown. Some came in chains, unrepentant but tired, too tired but to stumble. Thinking and hating were finished, thinking and fighting were finished, retreating and hoping were finished. Cures thus a long campaign, making death easy. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Shams Dener by Ernest Hemingway. Read for LibriVox.org by Rob E. Brown. Soldiers never do die well. Crosses mark the places, wooden crosses where they fell, stuck above their faces. Soldiers pitch and cough and twitch, all the world roars red and black. Soldiers smother in a ditch, choking through the whole attack. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Chaperon by Henry Kyler Bunner. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. I take my chaperon to the play. She thinks she's taking me. And the gilded youth who owns the box, a proud young man is he. But how would his young heart be hurt if he could only know that not for his sweet sake I go, nor yet to see the trifling show, but to see my chaperon flirt. Her eyes beneath her snowy hair, they sparkle, young as mine. There's scarce a wrinkle in her hand, so delicate and fine. And when my chaperon is seen, they come from everywhere, the dear old boys with silvery hair, with old-time grace and old-time air, to greet their old-time queen. They bow as my young Midas here will never learn to bow. The dancing masters do not teach that gracious reverence now. With voices quavering just a bit, they play their old parts through. They talk of folk who used to woo, of hearts that broke in 52, now none the worse for it. And as those aged crickets chirp, I watch my chaperon's face, and see the dear old features take a new and tender grace. And in her happy eyes I see her youth, awakening bright, with all its hope, desire, delight. Ah me! I wish that I were quite as young. as young as she. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Comparison by Paul Hamilton Hayne. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. I think oft times that lives of men may be likened to wandering winds that come and go, not knowing whence they rise, whither they blow o'er the vast globe, voiceful of grief or glee. Some lives are buoyant zephyrs sporting free in tropic sunshine, some long winds of woe that shun the day, wailing with murmurs low through haunted twilights by the unresting sea. Others are ruthless, stormful, drunk with might, born with deep passion or malign desire. They rave mid thunder peals and clouds of fire, wild, reckless all, save that some power unknown guides each blind force till life be overblown, lost in vague hollows of the fathomless night. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Cyclone at Sea by William Hamilton Hayne. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. A throat of thunder, a tameless heart, and a passion malign and free. He is no sheik of the desert sand, but an Arab of the sea. He sprang from the womb of some wild cloud, and was born to smite and slay, to soar like a million hawks set free, and swoop on his ocean prey. He has scourged the sea till her mighty breast responds to his heart's fierce beat, and has torn brave souls from their bodies frail to fling them at Allah's feet. Possessed by a demon's lust of life, he revels o'er wrecks and graves, and hurtles onward in curbless speed, dark Bedouin of the waves. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Death Be Not Proud by John Donne. Read for LibriVox by KMCreel. Death be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. For those whom thou think'st thou dost overthrow die not, poor Death, nor yet canst thou kill me. From rest and sleep, which but thy pictures be, much pleasure, then from thee much more must flow, and soonest our best men with thee do go. Rest of their bones and soul's delivery, thou art slave to fate, chance, kings and desperate men, and dost with poison, war, and sickness dwell. And poppies or charms can make us sleep as well, and better than thy stroke. Why swell'st thou then? One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Description of Human Life by Richard Crashaw. Read for LibriVox.org by Public Domain Scholar. O life, or buds on evanescent madness, and glittering spoil of life snatched with blind gladness. O endless error, transitory guest, sad human error, which would fain find rest. O certain error, 'neath uncertain sky, suspending here our frail mortality, lending us through 1,000 devious ways, and intricacies of a treacherous maze. Our staggering footsteps how dost thou beguile, through wanton rounds of unavailing toil, and our entangled days to nothing bring. O fates, how much our poor life takes wing, wasted on winds and shadows. On life's stage, shadows and winds a serious part engaged. the scene confusing on life's billow tossed, the sport of changeful tide we're well nigh lost, and like a frail boat on a stormy sea, we waver up and down uncertainly. Nay, even the threads spun by the fates on high, as with stern fingers they divinely ply, the web of life twine round us as we go, and draw us backwards, forwards, to and fro, till ruin trips us up, and we are found, helpless and weary, stretched along the ground. Happy the man who, welcoming each day, with smiles that answer to its fleeting ray, pursues with step serene his purposed way. The alluring snares, peculiar to the age, his soul enslaved not, nor his mind engage. With life with peaceful tenor glides along, by favoring breezes fanned and soothed with song. Inspired by heaven with soul-sustaining force, seldom he falls or falters in his course, but ever as the eddying years roll round, bursting through all the perils that abound, a wise assertor of himself is found. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Druid by John Bannister Tabb. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. God-like, beneath his grave divinities, the last of all their worshippers, he stood. The shadows of a vanished multitude enwound him, and their voices in the breeze made murmur, while the meditative trees reared of their strong fraternal branches rude a temple meet for prayer. What blossoms strewed the path between life's morning hours and these? What lay beyond the darkness? He alone the sunshine and the shadow and the dew had shared alike with leaf and flower and stem. Their life had been his lesson, and from them a dream of immortality he drew, as in their fate foreshadowing his own. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Failure at 40 by Donald Evans. Read for LibriVox.org by Rob E. Brown. He saw there was no choice to left or right. Time that had marked him for the least of sages pointed the hour, and several blotted pages stood witness to the struggle in the night. Behind him lay a happiness that might have made him shine a figure through the ages. Before him loomed a toiling at mean wages, alternative to sinking out of sight. This much was sure, he never need retrace. The leagues that he had traveled were an ending. There wound no footpath to a sunlit place, where he might nurse his dreams with peace attending. No promised joy would quicken the day's pace, nor right the past, a blunder still worth mending. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The False Friends by Dorothy Parker. Recording by H. E. Glenn from LibriVox.org. They laid their hands upon my head. They stroked my cheek and brow. And time could heal a hurt, they said, and time could dim a vow. And they were pitiful and mild, who whispered to me then, "The heart that breaks in April, child, will mend in May again." Oh, many a mended heart they knew, so old they were and wise, and little did they have to do to come to me with lies. Who flings me silly talk of May shall meet a bitter soul, for June was nearly spent away before my heart was whole. End of The False Friends. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
From the Stone Age by Alice Corbin Henderson. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston, Tharp. Long ago someone carved me in the semblance of a god. I have forgot now what god I was meant to represent. I have no consciousness now but of stone, sunlight, and rain, the sun baking my skin of stone, the wind lifting my hair. The sun's light is hot upon me. The moon's light is cool, casting a silver-laced pattern of light and dark over the plains of my body. My thoughts now are the thoughts of a stone. My substance now is the substance of life itself. I have sunk deep into life as one sinks into sleep. Life is above me, below me, around me, moving through my pores of stone. It does not matter how small the space you pack life in. That space is as big as the universe. Space, volume, and the overtone of volume move through me like chords of music, like the taste of happiness in the throat, which you fear to lose, though it may choke you. In the cities this is not known, for space there is emptiness and time is torment. Since I became a stone, I have no need to remember anything. Everything is remembered for me. I live and I think and I dream as a stone. In the warm sunlight, in the gray rain, all my surfaces are touched to softness by the light fingers of the wind, the slow dripping of rain. My body retains only faintly the image it was meant to represent. I am more beautiful and less rigid. I am a part of space. Time has entered into me. Life has passed through me. What matter the name of the god I was meant to represent? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Grave Chains by A. Leslie. From Weird Tales, October 1926. Read for LibriVox.org by Dale Grothmann. You are dead, or so men say. I only know that you have fled by some uncharted way. But there's a wall, a shadow wall, that I sense but cannot see, chill as the breath of a cankered pall that shuts you back from me. And at night, when the wild white moon sweeps by through the ashen corridors, the cloud ghosts writhe in the tortured sky, 'neath a glare of screaming stars. I hear your fingers tap and quest beyond the unseen wall, and pattering steps that cannot rest, and I thrill to an unheard call. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Hem and Haw by Bliss Carman. Read for LibriVox.org by Sherr. Hem and Haw were the sons of sin, created to shally and shirk. Lem lay round and Haw looked on, while God did all the work. Hem was a fogey, and Haw was a prig, for both had dull, dull mind, and whenever they found a thing to do, they yammered and went it blind. Hem was the father of bigots and bores, as the sands of the sea were they, and Haw was the father of all the tribe who criticize today. But God was an artist from the first, and knew what he was about, while over his shoulder sneered these two, and advised him to rub it out. They prophesied ruin ere man was made, such folly must surely fail. And when he was done, do you think, my lord, he's better without a tail? And still, in the honest working world, with posture and hint and smirk, these sons of the devil are standing by, while man does all the work. They balk endeavour, and baffle reform in the sacred name of law. And over the quavering voice of Hem is the droning voice of Haw. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Home Thoughts From Abroad by Robert Browning. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. Oh, to be in England, now that April's there, and whoever wakes in England sees, some morning, unaware, that the lowest boughs and the brushwood sheaf round the elm tree bole are in tiny leaf, while the chaffinch sings on the orchard bough, in England now. And after April, when May follows, and the whitethroat builds, and all the swallows, hark, where my blossomed pear tree in the hedge leans to the field and scatters on the clover blossoms and dewdrops, at the bent spray's edge, that's the wise thrush. He sings each song twice over, lest you should think he never could recapture the first fine careless rapture. And though the fields look rough with hoary dew, all will be gay when noontide wakes anew the buttercups, the little children's dower, far brighter than this gaudy melon flower. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The House on the Hill by Edward Arlington Robinson. Read by Paula Messina. They are all gone away. The house is shut and still. There is nothing more to say. Through broken walls and gray the winds blow bleak and shrill. They are all gone away. Nor is there one today to speak them good or ill. There is nothing more to say. Why is it then we stray around that sunken sill? They are all gone away, and our poor fancy play for them is wasted skill. There is nothing more to say. There is ruin and decay in the house on the hill. They are all gone away. There is nothing more to say. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Hymn by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Paula Messina. At morn, at noon, at twilight dim, Maria, thou hast heard my hymn, in joy and woe, in good and ill. Mother of God, be with me still. When the hours flew brightly by, and not a cloud obscured the sky, my soul, lest it should truant be, thy grace did guide to thine and thee. Now, when storms of fate o'ercast darkly my present and my past, let my future radiant shine, with sweet hopes of thee and thine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ingrateful Beauty Threatened by Thomas Carey. Read for LibriVox.org by Public Domain Scholar. Know, Celia, since thou art so proud, 'twas I that gave thee thy renown. Thou hadst in the forgotten crowd of common beauties lived unknown. Had not my verse extolled thy name, and with it imped the wings of fame? That killing power is none of thine. I gave it to thee, thy voice and eyes. Thy sweets, thy graces are all mine. Thou art my star, shinest in my skies. Then dart not from thy borrowed sphere, lightning on him that fixed thee there. Tempt me with such affrights no more, lest what I made I uncreate. Let fools thy mystic form adore, I know thee in thy mortal state. Wise poets that wrapped truth in tales knew her themselves through all her veils. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Just a Dog by Nora May French. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. So many times in those dark days, instinct with sudden hope he crept, when sad infrequent hands would raise the startled notes where sound had slept, seeking the world he used to hear, close crouching at his master's knees, hoping to find again the dear, familiar hand upon the keys. In very truth, there was a soul behind his brown and faithful eyes. There live some mortals on the whole, less loving, tender, loyal, wise. And though we give it to decay, his poor old body, worn and scarred, yet he who judges soul in clay will give one dog his just reward. And that would be to let him come toward dim-heard music far and sweet, seeking with eyes rejoiced and dumb, seeking with swift, unerring feet, with love supreme to guide him true across the misty ways of space, until he found the one he knew and looked into his master's face. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Figlia Che Piange by T.S. Eliot. Read for LibriVox.org by Ehsan. Figlia Che Piange. Stand on the highest pavement of the stair. Lean on a garden arm. Weave the sunlight in your hair. Clasp your flowers to you with a pained surprise. Fling them to the ground and turn with a fugitive resentment in your eyes. But weave the sunlight in your hair. So I would have had him leave. So I would have had her stand and grieve. So he would have left, as the soul leaves the body torn and bruised, as the mind deserts the body it has used. I should find some way incomparably light and deft, some way we both should understand. Simple and faithless as a smile and shake of the hand. She turned away, but with the autumn weather compelled my imagination many days, and many hours. Her hair over her arms, and her arms full of flowers, and I wonder how they should have been together. I should have lost a gesture and a pose. Sometimes these cogitations still amaze the troubled midnight and the noon's repose. End of the poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Law of the Yukon by Robert W. Service. Read for LibriVox.org by stepheather. April 18th, 2023, Bangalore, India. This is the law of the Yukon, and ever she makes it plain. Send not your foolish and feeble, send me your strong and your sane. Strong for the red rage of battle, sane for I harry them sore. Send me men girt for the combat, men who are grit to the core. Swift as the panther in triumph, fierce as the bear in defeat, sired of a bulldog parent, steeled in the furnace heat. Send me the best of your breeding, lend me your chosen ones. Them will I take to my bosom, them will I call my sons. Them will I gild with my treasure, them will I glut with my meat. But the others, the misfits, the failures, I trample under my feet. Dissolute, damned, and despairful, crippled and palsied and slain, ye would send me the spawn of your gutters. Go, take back your spawn again. Wild and wide are my borders, stern as death is my sway. From my ruthless throne I have ruled alone for 1,000,000 years and a day, hugging my mighty treasure, waiting for man to come, till he swept like a turbid torrent, and after him swept the scum. The pallid pimp of the deadline, the enervate of the pen. One by one I weeded them out, for all that I sought was men. One by one I dismayed them, frighting them sore with my glooms. One by one I betrayed them unto my manifold dooms, drowned them like rats in my rivers, starved them like curs on my plains, rotted the flesh that was left them, poisoned the blood in their veins, burst with my winter upon them, searing forever their sight, lashed them with fungus-white faces, whimpering wild in the night. Staggering blind through the storm whirl, stumbling mad through the snow, frozen stiff in the ice pack, brittle and bent like a bow, featureless, formless, forsaken, scented by wolves in their flight, left for the wind to make music through ribs that are glittering white, gnawing the black crust of failure, searching the pit of despair, crooking the toe in the trigger, trying to patter a prayer, going outside with an escort, raving with lips all afoam, writing a check for 1,000,000, driveling feebly of home, lost like a louse in the burning, or else in the tented town, seeking a drunkard's solace, sinking and sinking down, steeped in the slime at the bottom, dead to a decent world, lost mid the human flotsam, far on the frontier hurled, in the camp at the bend of the river, with its dozen saloons aglare, its gambling dens a riot, its gramophones all ablare, crimped with the crimes of a city, sin-ridden and bridled with lies, in the hush of my mountain vastness, in the flush of my midnight skies. Plague spots, yet tools of my purpose, so natheless I suffer them thrive, crushing my weak in their clutches, that only my strong may survive. But the others, the men of my mettle, the men who would stablish my fame unto its ultimate issue, winning me honor, not shame, searching my uttermost valleys, fighting each step as they go, shooting the wrath of my rapids, scaling my ramparts of snow, ripping the guts of my mountains, looting the beds of my creeks, them will I take to my bosom and speak as a mother speaks. I am the land that listens. I am the land that broods, steeped in eternal beauty, crystalline waters and woods. Long have I waited lonely, shunned as a thing accursed, monstrous, moody, pathetic, the last of the lands and the first. Visioning campfires at twilight, sad with a longing forlorn, feeling my womb o'er-pregnant with the seed of cities unborn. Wild and wide are my borders, stern as death is my sway, and I wait for the men who will win me, and I will not be won in a day, and I will not be won by weaklings, subtle, suave, and mild, but by men with the hearts of Vikings and the simple faith of a child, desperate, strong, and resistless, unthrottled by fear or defeat. Them will I gild with my treasure, them will I glut with my meat. Lofty I stand from each sister land, patient and wearily wise, with the weight of a world of sadness in my quiet, passionless eyes, dreaming alone of a people, dreaming alone of a day, when men shall not rape my riches and curse me and go away, making a bawd of my bounty, fouling the hand that gave, till I rise in my wrath and I sweep on their path and I stamp them into a grave. Dreaming of men who will bless me, of women esteeming me good, of children born in my borders, of radiant motherhood, of cities leaping to stature, of fame like a flag unfurled, as I pour the tide of my riches in the eager lap of the world. This is the law of the Yukon, that only the strong shall thrive, that surely the weak shall perish, and only the fit survive. Dissolute, damned, and despairful, crippled and palsied and slain, this is the will of the Yukon. Lo, how she makes it plain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Let Us Tell Quiet Stories of Kind Eyes by Geoffrey Bash Smith, read for LibriVox.org by Sally Murrell. Let us tell quiet stories of kind eyes, and placid brows where peace and learning sate, of misty gardens under evening skies, where forward walk of old with steps sedate. Let's have no word of all the sweat and blood, of all the noise and strife and dust and smoke. We who have seen death surging like a flood, wave upon wave, that leapt and raced and broke. Or let's sit silently, we three together, around a wide hearth fire that's glowing red, giving no thought to all the stormy weather that flies above the roof tree overhead. And he, the fourth, that lies all silently in some far distant and untended grave, under the shadow of a shattered tree, shall leave the company of the hapless brave, and draw nigh unto us for memory's sake, because a look, a word, a deed, a friend, are bound with cords that never a man may break, unto his heart for ever, until the end. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Longing by George MacDonald. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. My heart is full of inarticulate pain and beats laboriously. Ungenial looks invade my sanctuary. Men of gain, wise in success, well read in feeble books, do not come near me now. Your air is drear. 'Tis winter and low skies when ye appear. Beloved, who love beauty and love truth, come round me, for too near ye cannot come. Make me an atmosphere with your sweet youth. Give me your souls to breathe in, a large room. Speak not a word, for see my spirit lies helpless and dumb. Shine on me with your eyes. O all wide places, far from feverish towns, great shining seas, pine forests, mountains wild, rock-bosomed shores, rough heaths and sheep-cropped downs, vast pallid clouds, blue spaces undefiled. Room, give me room, give loneliness and air, free things and plenteous in your regions fair. White dove of David flying overhead, golden with sunlight on thy snowy wings, outspeeding thee my longing thoughts have fled to find a home afar from men and things, where in his temple, earth o'erarched with sky, God's heart to mine may speak, my heart reply. O God of mountains, stars, and boundless spaces, O God of freedom and of joyous hearts, when thy face looketh forth from all men's faces, there will be room enough in crowded marts. Brood thou around me, and the noise is o'er. Thy universe, my closet with shutted door. Heart, heart, awake! The love that loveth all maketh a deeper calm than Horeb's cave. God in thee, can his children's folly gall? Love may be hurt, but shall not love be brave? Thy holy silence sinks in dews of balm. Thou art my solitude, my mountain calm. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Morning at the Window by T.S. Eliot. Read for LibriVox by S.B. Yee. They are rattling breakfast plates in basement kitchens, and along the trampled edges of the street I am aware of the damp souls of housemaids sprouting despondently at area gates. The brown waves of fog toss up to me twisted faces from the bottom of the street and tear from a passerby with muddy skirts an aimless smile that hovers in the air and vanishes along the level of the roofs. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Mrs. Smith by Frederick Locker Lampson. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. Hi-ho! They're wed. The cards are dealt, our frolic games are o'er. I've laughed, I've fooled and loved. I felt as I shall feel no more. Yon little thatch is where she lives, yon spire is where she met me. I think that if she quite forgives, she cannot quite forget me. Last year I trod these fields with dye, fields with fresh clover and with rye. They seem now arid. Then dye was fair and single. How unfair it seems to me, for now dye's fair and married. A blissful swain, I scorn the song which tells us though young love is strong, the fates are stronger. Then breezes blew a boon to men, then buttercups were bright, and then the grass was longer. That day I saw and much esteemed Dye's ankles, that the clover seemed inclined to smother. It twitched and soon untied, for fun, the ribbons of her shoes, first one and then the other. I'm told that virgins augur some misfortune if their shoestrings come to grief on Friday, and so did Dye. And then her pride decreed that shoestrings so untied are so untidy. Of course I knelt. With fingers deft I tied the right and tied the left. Says Dye, "This stubble, it's very stupid. As I live, I'm quite ashamed. I'm shocked to give you so much trouble." For answer, I was fain to sink to what we all would say and think were beauty present. Don't mention such a simple act. A trouble? Not the least. In fact, it's rather pleasant. I trust that love will never tease poor little Dye, or prove that he's a graceless rover. She's happy now, as Mrs. Smith, but less polite when walking with her chosen lover. Hi-ho. Although no moral clings to Dye's blue eyes and sandal strings, we had our quarrels. I think that Smith is thought an ass. I know that when they walk in grass, she wears Balmorals. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Heart, the Chamber of His Musing is, by Elizabeth Bridges, based on a poem by Hafez. Read for LibriVox.org by Joanna Michael Hoyt. My heart, the chamber of his musing is, mine eye, the mirror of his beauty's face, my hand, the servant of his purposes. I, who to neither wealth nor worldly place incline, nor to religion's promised ease, bend low beneath the burden of his grace. Since all I have is of his bounty given, so is my poor pride but in his proud name. His humble service is my hoped-for heaven. Nor shun I men's despite and trampling sneer, nor heed their slander, nor the infamous fame of their blind censure. Nay, nor do I fear death's last defilement. Though I pass in shame, bright worlds his immortality proclaim. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Old Letters by Frederick George Scott. Read for LibriVox.org by stepheather. March 19th, 2023, Bangalore, India. The house was silent, and the light was fading from the western glow. I read till tears had dimmed my sight, some letters written long ago. The voices that have passed away, the faces that have turned to mold, were round me in the room today, and laughed and chatted as of old. The thoughts that youth was wont to think, the hopes now dead for evermore, came from the lines of faded ink, as sweet and earnest as of yore. I laid the letters by and dreamed the dear dead past to life again. The present and its purpose seemed a fading vision, full of pain. Then, with a sudden shout of glee, the children burst into the room. Their little faces were to me as sunrise in the cloud of gloom. The world was full of meaning still, for love will live though loved ones die. I turned upon life's darkened hill and gloried in the morning sky. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Old Ship Church by Crawford Jackson. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Be mine thy throb of pulsing heart, old ship, when sermon, song, and prayer were wont to hold and guide the fathers, pioneers of old. The men who held the truth with steadfast grip, thine own appeal to God from heart and lip, inspired by earnest men who ne'er cajoled, who sang their hymns within that saintly fold, with all their worship free from vulgar slip. Old ship, the church that made the ship of state, who trained aright thy maidens and thy lads, and lived thy simple life all free from fads. Thou madest America beloved and great. Sail on, old ship, and sweep the farthest sea, and save the souls of men eternally. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On a Portrait by T.S. Eliot, read for LibriVox by S.B. Yee. Among a crowd of tenuous dreams, unknown to us of restless brain and weary feet, forever hurrying up and down the street, she stands at evening in the room alone. Not like a tranquil goddess carved of stone, but evanescent, as if one should meet a pensive Lamia in some wood retreat, an immaterial fancy of one's own. No meditations, glad or ominous, disturb her lips or move the slender hands. Her dark eyes keep their secrets hid from us. Beyond the circle of our thought she stands. The parrot on his bar, a silent spy, regards her with a patient, curious eye. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Only Engaged by Geoffrey Stoddart Kennedy. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. I can hear their voices singing as the train steams slowly out. I can see their faces still through mists of tears. I can see brown hands still waving as I wrench my soul about to the weary days that lengthen into years. I can see two eyes that soften as they seek to fathom mine. I can see two strong lips trembling to a smile. I can see a dear face lighten with a human love divine, and sweet memories bear my burden for a while. Then a downy head comes seeking for the pillow of my breast, and a gleeful voice calls chuckling for its dad. And with two small arms around it, my soul sinks back to rest, singing nonsense to the child we never had. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Pastoral by Juna Barnes. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston, Tharp. A frog leaps out across the lawn and crouches there, all heavy and alone, and like a blossom, pale and overblown, once more the moon turns dim against the dawn. Crawling across the straggling panoply of little roses only half in bloom, it strides within that beamed and lofty room where an ebon stallion looms upon the hay. The stillness moves and seems to grow immense. A shuddering dog starts, dragging at its chain. Thin, dusty rats slink down within the grain, and in the vale the first far bells commence. Here in the dawn, with mournful, doomed eyes, a cow uprises, moving out to bear a soft-lipped calf with swarthy, birth-swirled hair, and wide, wet mouth, and droll uncertainties. The grey fowls fight for places in the sun, the mushrooms flare and pass like painted fans. All the world is patient in its plans. The seasons move forever, one on one. Small birds lie, sprawling vaguely in the heat, and wanly pluck at shadows on their breasts. And where the heavy grapevine leans and rests, white butterflies lift up their furry feet. The wheat grows querulous with unseen cats. A fox strides out in anger through the corn, bidding each acre wake and rise to mourn beneath its sharps and through its throaty flats. And so it is, and will be, year on year, time in and out of date, and still on time a billion grapes plunge bleeding into wine, and bursting, fall like music on the ear. The snail that marks the girth of night with slime, the lonely adder hissing in the fern, the lizard with its ochre eyes a-burn, each is before and each behind its time. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Prayer by Norman Rowland Gale. Read for LibriVox.org by Ananda Samudhram. Tend me, my birds, and bring again the brotherhood of woodland life. So shall I wear the seasons round, a friend to need, a foe to strive. Bring me my heritage of lawn, and grant me, Father, till I die, the fine sincerity of light, and luxury of open sky. So learning always may I find my heaven around me everywhere, and go in hope from this to thee, the pupil of thy country air. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Rain by Nora May French. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. The rain was gray before it fell, and through a world where light had died, there ran a mournful little wind that shook the trees and cried. The rain was brown upon the earth, in turbid stream and tiny seas, in swift and slender shafts that beat the flowers to their knees. The rain is mirror to the sky, to leaning grass in image clear, and drifting in the shining pools, the clouds are white and near. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sacrifice by Frederick Manning. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Love suffereth all things, and we, out of the travail and pain of our striving, bring unto thee the perfect prayer. For the lips of no man utter love, suffering even for love's sake. For us no splendid apparel of pageantry, burnished breastplates, scarlet banners, and trumpets sounding exultantly. But the mean things of the earth thou hast chosen, decked them with suffering, made them beautiful with the passion for rightness, strong with the pride of love. Yea, though our praise of thee slayeth us, yet love shall exalt us beside thee triumphant, dying that these live. And the earth again be beautiful with orchards, yellow with wheat fields, and the lips of others praise thee, though our lips be stopped with earth and songless. Yet we shall have brought thee their praises, brought unto thee the perfect prayer. For the lips of no man utter love, suffering even for love's sake. O God of sorrows, whose feet come softly through the dews, stoop thou unto us, for we die, so thou livest. Our hearts the cups of thy vintage, and the lips of no man utter love, suffering even for love's sake. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
She Went by Elizabeth Bridges, based on a poem by Hafez. Read for LibriVox.org by Joanna Michael Hoyt. She went. Oh, whither to, O one true love, went my sad heart, thou knowest. Lo, my prayer followeth thee, and faith that naught may move. With prayer I came, and now with pleading strong I leave thee, that my flinchless trust thou share. So shall God aid us, who to him belong. Though all earth censure me, by heaven I swear, though tyranny me test with trial untold, no torments shall enwaver me, nor fear. Though pleasure her most dazzling joys forth hold, and luring musics to enravish me, thee only see I, thee hear, only thee I follow. Thou who travellest love's long road, knowest that there no rest is, nor abode. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Silence by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Paula Messina. There are some qualities, some incorporate things that have a double life, which thus is made a type of that twin entity which springs from matter and light, evinced in solid and shade. There is a twofold silence, sea and shore, body and soul. One dwells in lonely places, newly with grass o'ergrown, some solemn graces, some human memories and tearful lore, render him terrorless, his name's no more. He is the corporate silence. Dread him not. No power hath he of evil in himself. But should some urgent fate, untimely lot, bring thee to meet his shadow, nameless elf that haunteth the lone regions where hath trod no foot of man, commend thyself to God. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Spleen by T.S. Eliot, read for LibriVox by Yesbe. Sunday, this satisfied procession of definite Sunday faces, bonnets, silk hats, and conscious graces in repetition that displaces your mental self-possession by this unwarranted digression. Evening, lights and tea, children and cats in the alley, dejection unable to rally against this dull conspiracy. And life, a little bald and grey, languid, fastidious, and bland, waits, hat and gloves in hand, punctilious of tie and suit, somewhat impatient of delay, on the doorstep of the Absolute. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Summer Song by William Carlos Williams. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Wanderer moon, smiling a faintly ironical smile at this brilliant, dew-moistened summer morning, a detached, sleepily indifferent smile, a wanderer's smile. If I should buy a shirt your color and put on a necktie sky blue, where would they carry me? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Tell Me Not, Mournful Preacher, by Elizabeth Bridges, based on a poem by Hafiz, recorded for LibriVox.org by Joanna Michael Hoyt. Tell me not, mournful preacher, that to prize beauty of flower or song or mistress fair is to forego the sweets of paradise. Say not, life's pleasance is a deathly snare, shun it, so wouldst thou save thy soul alive. Blind thee, and in drear temple pray and strive. Know thou, all gladness is God's house of grace, all loveliness is thy beloved's face, all beauteous earth is heaven's gay garden ground. To love the rose, the fair, the gladsome bird, life's lovely bliss wherever it be found. To love love's truth from whomsoever heard, this is their faith who see with seeing eyes, their worship and their endless paradise. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Vivisection by Nora May French. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. We saw unpitying skill in curious hands put living flesh apart, till bare and terrible the tiny heart pulsed and was still. We saw grief's sudden knife strip through the pleasant flesh of soul disguise, lay for a second's space before our eyes a naked life. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Woodbine Willie by Geoffrey Stoddard Kennedy. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. They gave me this name like their nature, compacted of laughter and tears, a sweet that was born of the bitter, a joke that was torn from the years. Let me bear it still remembering all the length of my unpaid debt. For the men to whom I owed God's peace, I have paid with a cigarette. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.